how do we frame ourselves? Because as a creator, I get really nervous saying, I got 1,000 followers, they're not going to go for it. Like, how can I frame myself? How can I do that first initial touch?
You have to know 4 things. What is the unique thing about you that you do? So that's number 1, understanding your uniqueness. Secondly, you got to know your audience. Understanding the consumption habits of your audience helps you identify the direct, most precise and accurate brands you should be approaching first. The third thing, really knowing your products and assets, but how do you combine those? And then the fourth thing, which is really the most important, is understanding the sponsor's priorities.
If you're ready to get a brand sponsor and get paid for your hard work and tears, then my friend, you're in the right place at the right time. We're bringing in one of the best. He's a 2-time Emmy Award winner for his show, Never Settle Show. He's a partner with Damon John, public speaker extraordinaire, Mario Armstrong. Welcome to the show.
Yo, it's so good to be here. After hours, entrepreneur. Let's go, Mark. I'm pumped, man. I was honored the minute you reached out to be on, and I got a chance. I love how you even presented it. You're like, hey, here's what the show's about. Take a listen. And I'm like, man, this show is fire. So I'm excited to be here. By the way, Mark, man, I'd like to just shout this out for your listeners. If you guys are listening to this and you get some value from what Mark does or the people that he brings on, or even if you got even just 10 seconds worth of good advice from me today, make sure that you like it, comment it, share it. I know he's going to tell you to do that, but it's not his job, right? I'm on a lot of podcasts. I get to see a lot of things. Mark is really trying to do the best to give you some great info. So it's an easy payment back to him. It's an easy, nice little gratitude thing. If you could just share it, save it, like it, tell somebody else about it, and make sure that you're subscribing to it.
Dude, that's awesome. Mario, thank you so much, man. That's really dope of you to do that, dude. I appreciate
that.
Yeah,
man, we got to do it for each other because it's hard enough that you got to ask the people all the time to do the shit. And so it's one of the things that I try to do for people that are really sharp is really try to be the person to tell the audience, because hopefully that will take the burden off of you a little bit, but also it just reminds them oh, you know what? He's right. I do learn something from Mark. So yeah, let me just go ahead and take this moment out to do this thing.
Yeah, well, I love it. And we originally met in Clubhouse, which, by the way, is a fantastic place to meet people. And it's every time I heard you speak, it was positive, it was uplifting, and it was actually valuable information.
That's
right?
Great to hear, man. I mean, that's what I try. That's the trail I try to leave behind me. I really do. I try to. Intentionality is a big word that we use in our family and in our business. What is your intent? I don't care what it is you want to do. Be the best athlete, be an author, be the best dad. What is your intent? And then what are the steps to really live and lean into that intent? And part of that for me is just always thinking, doing the best, right? I got challenges just like any other human being. So, but it's how much harder can I work to think outside of me? And therefore, if I think more outside of me, how am I being a catalyst, a piece of valuable information? How am I imparting something on somebody that can actually make a difference in their life? And so I think that's what supercharges me whenever I find something or uncover something or have some experience or expertise in something that I want to share, because when I see those light bulbs go off for other people, I get jazzed up by that. So I think having that intentionality, man, and just trying to leave a trail of intent. I think in my Clubhouse bio, I say my intent is to listen, but have you taking notes when I speak is one of the things I write in my bio.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to authenticity. And to me, authenticity is really something that is going to pay off dividends long-term, right? I think too many people are too caught up in the short-term gain because they want to get cash now. But I think that authenticity and delivering that valuable information is a big deal. And
it's hard, dude. I'm sorry to cut you off. It's just hard. It's hard to be authentic sometimes. It's not hard to be who you are, but it is if you don't really like who you are. So it can be hard for a lot of people to be a good listener as opposed to wanting to pitch their product or their service or get that deal, as opposed to building the time to build a relationship because you're anxious to close a thing or you're hype and excited. So it's tough. It can be a challenging thing to really balance. Not necessarily being authentic, but it's hard when you don't know who you are or who your customer is. It's much harder for you to really be authentic.
100%. And honestly, I think, listen, after hours entrepreneurs, wherever you are in your journey, just know that if you keep working towards delivering the refined message to the right people, it gets better and better. It took me a long time to get to where I'm at today. I struggled tremendously. So anyway, that's what the show is about. It's to help you take huge strides forward to avoid all those potholes along the way. Yeah. All right, cool. So I want to get right into it. Okay. Today I want to talk all about how you can land a brand deal that's going to make you cash money, right? Tangible cash money. So I want to start right from the beginning. When is the right time? Let me reframe that. I'm a creator. I've got content out there. I'm producing on social media. Maybe I have a podcast or YouTube channel. When is the right time for me to reach out and get a sponsor?
Oh, this is a good question. All right. So we're imagining this scenario. You're a creator. You got content. You're doing stuff. You're putting it out there. What everyone will tell you, and this is the biggest misinformation, what everyone will tell you is do not go and approach a sponsor or a brand until you've reached a certain amount of episodes or a certain amount of followers or a certain amount of community reach. And it's all BS. Here's why. Because you can actually sell a concept. You can sell a launch. You can sell the beginning of something that is about to happen. The key is, how do you actually sell it? It's all in the presentation. It's how do you present your credibility? Like, what is your expertise? Why are you an expert in this thing? Why should we listen to you? Why should we understand that you're a leader in this space or about to be? And how does that expertise transfer itself into this opportunity that you're presenting? So let's just say you got a podcast idea, but you got no podcast yet. But you know what it is that you want to do. You may have even done an episode 0 where you just kind of talked about what it's going to be about. You don't have to have an audience yet in order to go after brand sponsorships. 2 reasons why. Number 1, brands recognize that micro influencers is really where it's at. Like, they've been spending a lot of money on big influencers and people with a lot of reach or big episodes. But now what they realize is that you get 7 times the amount of engagement when you deal with someone that has a smaller audience, because the trust level is so much higher with that smaller audience. So you're more believable, you're more credible, and you're more trustworthy. That really is a space that brands want to be in. The problem is it's a lot of work for brands to find people that have less than 10,000 followers or less than 20,000 followers in order to try to really build up that micro influencer community of theirs. So that's where you step in. Like, oh, the brands are shifting their attention. The marketers are shifting their attention. 75% of them are now spending money on micro influencers. These are people under 10K in following. And so I got students that have less than 1,000 or less than 1,500 followers, but I'm teaching them how to get deals, and they're scoring deals with Dove soap. They're scoring deals with Bacardi, and it's working. Now, not every person is getting a deal right away, but they are getting themselves in position because they're making themselves aware to the brand who's actually looking for them. I'll pause here, but the biggest challenge that you need to understand, you the person with this dream, this idea, this vision that you have, is that the brands, the corporations need to get to your community, and you're the bridge in between that. They can do ads, they can do their own posts, they can do paid ads all they want, and that's fine. They do that stuff. They do their advertisements. But if they really want to reach your community, they got to get to somebody that's a part of that community. And so that's where you fit in. And so, you know, the biggest shift that marketers have said recently in a study this year was that the number one thing they look for now in terms of measurement of performance that's important to a marketer, the number one thing is engagement. Number 6 on that list is follower count. If you would have asked me that question a year and a half ago, follower count would have definitely been in the top 2, if not top 3. But now the tables have turned. And unless you're inside the industry, unless you're talking to people that are buying advertising space, doing ad deals, PR agencies, HR offices, diversity and inclusion, there's so many different funding sources today, communications department, the social media division, like unless you have a shoe into that industry and you're following the trades and what's happening in that space, you don't know that this shift is happening right under you. And so that's why I'm like super aggressive and super passionate, because I'm trying to tell people, because in a year or 2 from now, you're going to see some of your friends that have very low follower counts getting deals. And you're going to be like, what the hell is going on? Like, why are they getting these deals? And so it's because these brands are paying attention to us in a different way now.
And to me, Mario, that makes a lot of sense, because and anyone out there who's looking to buy followers or do sub for sub, you should listen to what Mario just said here, because that is going to, it's going to defeat the whole purpose, because then you got people that aren't interested, they're not engaging. So I want to talk a little bit about the engagement factor, but before I do that, I kind of want to talk about how we frame ourselves. Because let's take this example with someone that maybe doesn't have tens of thousands of followers, but we want to reach out to a brand and say, listen, I can be that bridge. You can leverage my know, like, and trust. You can leverage the trust I've developed with my community. Like, how do we frame ourselves? Because as a creator, I get really nervous saying, I got 1,000 followers. They're not going to go for it. Like, how can I frame myself? How can I do that first initial touch?
So, it's a great question. And most people do the first initial touch the wrong way, which is why they either get ghosted or, they get turned down. And the reason is because we always end up pitching our idea to the brand first. And that's a flawed model. When you pitch your idea, hey, I got these followers. Hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm all about teaching people how to ski or whatever it might be. And you got the proof, the credibility. You're on the slopes. You're doing the thing. Like, it's like all of that's fine, but you only got like 800 followers. Doesn't mean a daggone thing, because if your followers are like interacting with you, they're engaging, they're saving, they're sharing, they're liking, they're commenting, like all of that's engagement, all of those interactions. When we say engagement, it's all these small interactions that get counted as part of your engagement. I can break down the formula if anybody really wants to write down the mathematics on it in just a second. But because I think you'll be surprised as to how many of you have higher than the industry standard engagement. And when you find that out, you'll then realize that you're leaving money on the table because you're not presenting yourself. So to answer your question specifically, you have to know four things. You have to know what makes you unique in the marketplace. Like what about you? Okay, so what? That you're a ski. I don't know why I got on the ski thing. Maybe because it's just hot. I just want to go skiing. But you're a ski. You got this ski course or whatever. You got this ski school and you teach people how to ski or whatever it is. So what makes you unique though? Do you just teach kids? Do you just teach women? Do you teach, entrepreneurs? So that's a different audience. Like what makes you unique about it? Is it that you only do black diamonds, or do you do just snowboarding? Like, what is the unique thing about you that you do? So that's number one, understanding your uniqueness. We all have a uniqueness, whether it's how we look or how we act or what we do. We have something about us that makes us unique. And I'm not talking about just the idea. I'm talking about what makes you unique to that idea. Secondly, you got to know your audience. And when we talk about knowing the audience, we're not talking about just like the age and the household income. We're talking about like, what type of skis do they buy? Why do they buy those skis? What gloves do they wear? What's their favorite brand of coat they're going to buy? When they drink something hot, is it hot chocolate or is it hot tea? Like, or is it, liquor? Like, understanding the consumption habits of your audience helps you identify the direct, most precise and accurate brands you should be approaching first. But then there's two more quick things you got to have. You got to understand.
Before we get into this, because I want to talk. So this is the difference, and I've heard you talk about this before, Mario, is the demographics versus the psychographics. Okay. So what you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is, focus more on the psychographic, like what type of glove your viewer or your fans, but how can we even find that out? That seems like a difficult thing to quantify. Like, it's hard for me to determine what type of microphone podcasters are using. How can we figure that out? Yeah, this is great. Ask. And ask in multiple ways. You can do it the formal way, which is what I do. I do it more formally, where I survey my audience 4 times a year. So I will go to Google, free survey. You can use SurveyMonkey and all these other things that you want to type form if you want to spend money, but I just use free. So I'll just type up the survey, asking the specific questions of the answers that I'm looking for. So I'm understanding that I'm trying to find out what products and services the people that are following me, what are they consuming and why? What helps them be a better, in my case, what's going to help them be a better creator, or what's going to help them be a more profitable entrepreneur? So I need to know those services. So it might be like Wix for their website. It might be like Easy Webinar for their webinars. It might be, unlimited Wi-Fi, and like they have to have mobile hotspots with them so they don't have to rely on somebody else's Wi-Fi, so they can always be connected. Like, so that's a different device. Like, so I'm asking questions to try to find out what my audience is consuming and what they actually need. If they aren't buying it, what do they intend to buy is also very, very important. So I'll even ask things like, when do you intend to travel?
Do you have travel plans in the next 12 months? The reason why I would ask something like that is because if my audience comes back that over 80% of them plan to travel, that helps me focus in on the types of brands that I could actually go after. Every brand that serves a travel or serves someone that's traveling, whether it's luggage, earphones, whatever, I would be going after those brands because I could say 80% of my community, although my stuff is about entrepreneurship, 80% of them are planning travel in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
So you can build these bridges and these connections by really uncovering the data from your audience by doing surveys, or you can even go easy. You could just do an Instagram poll and like just drop it in your stories and just see like how people respond to certain questions. But you got to talk to your people. So whether you're capturing them in IG or in an email newsletter or in a text club, you got to talk to your people and really ask them these types of questions to try to get that insight. And what you're doing is you're really trying to do it in a way that identifies trends of who your audience is and what products and services can best help and serve them.
Okay, I dig that. And then we're going to package all this together in our first message out, which we're going to get to in just a moment. So we've talked about your uniqueness. We've talked about your audience, not just demographics, but psychographics. What, Mario, are the two other really important factors in making sure that our pitch to our sponsor is going to land us money and get us paid? What are the other two parts of this?
Man, dude, you got to know exactly what it is. So your products and assets. In other words, you have to know exactly what it is you're intending to pitch, or you have to know really what it is that you do. So in your case, you might be pitching your podcast. Mm-hmm. But then I would say to you, Mark, let's not just pitch the podcast. What other assets do you have that go in tandem with your podcast? And you might say,
so it could be the YouTube channel or the link or the Facebook group. In maybe I do a local event where I bring in local business owners and stuff like that.
You got a newsletter? You got a newsletter?
You know it.
You got social media?
Darn right.
So all of those things, you're going to be using your social to promote your podcast, your content. You're now thinking about doing an offline or virtual event. So now you have something physical. Then you have the actual podcast itself. But then you also have the newsletter that's hanging over here. So you got like 4 things right there that should be in a pitch. But yet what we do is we say, we would love to have you sponsor my podcast. And so what we're doing is we're automatically shrinking the view of what we have to offer. We're shrinking the value of what we have to offer, which means we're going to shrink the amount of money that we feel comfortable asking for. So
Brilliant.
If you group all that stuff together, you know what? For every podcast interview that we do 15 social media posts for that across the month or whatever the number is. We also have an event coming later in this year. We want you to be a part of that. And in our newsletter that goes out once a week, we're going to make sure that we drop this message of yours, blah, blah, blah. So now you've put together this kind of holistic view. And now you're in a much more confident posture to be able to say, yeah, and that's going to cost you $22,000. And a brand's going to look at that and be like, yeah, no shit, this looks like something that's worth $22,000. But I only got 1,500 followers. I know, but I see your engagement. I see these other things. And I see that you've grouped everything together to make a much more holistic package and piece. So that's the third thing, really knowing your products and assets, but how do you combine those? And in some cases, you need to combine outside of just you. You can find other collaborators. You can find another partner that maybe brings something to the table that you don't. Maybe you got somebody that's got a great podcast that's on mental health and wellness for entrepreneurs, where you talk about something else for entrepreneurs. But now the two of you together have this compelling pitch, but the brand's going to get action from both of you. So there's a lot of different ways to make these things really work if you understand how to package them effectively. And then the fourth thing, which is really the most important, is understanding the sponsor's priorities.
Yeah.
And so the only way, there's 2 ways in my expertise and experience of selling like $3 million worth of brand deals in the past couple of years, is that you can do the research yourself. And research means you're going to their homepage, seeing what's important. You're scrolling down to the PR section to see what news and what press releases have recently been put out, because that gives you an indication as to what projects, what features, what things are important to them. You're scrolling their social media. You're looking at what they're absolutely posting. So that gives you an indication of like what the brand feel is about, but also maybe what's important to them. And then your view gets kind of like limited. So like you got all this external research that you did. The best juice, the best info that you can get is when you get it from the brand themselves. So that's actually talking to them. So then the question comes up, well, yo, Mario, how do I know who to contact? And then how do I contact them to get the phone call? And so this is why, and I'll stop after this, but this is why it's very important that we don't send pitches first without speaking to the brand first. So the real goal in this whole getting brand deals is actually to get a phone call first. Then you send a pitch later. And that's where so many people go wrong. They send their pitch and they're hoping to get someone to hit them back. And you can send an idea. You can send a one sheet. You can send, here's who I am. Here's who Mark is. And here's what the After Hours Entrepreneur podcast is about. Here are the people we reach. But we also do events. We also do this. We also do that. We got social. You can kind of give an idea, but you don't put any pricing. And you don't specifically say, I'm looking for you to sponsor this thing. But you're just kind of sending them something that can educate them about your world. But in that pitch of that very generic document, you're saying to them, I'd like to get a 12-minute discovery call with you. That's actually the goal, is to get the brand on the phone, ask the right questions that give you answers about what's their priorities, what's important to them, what audience are they really trying to reach, and you get that information, and then you bring back to them a custom presentation that helps solve those priorities of theirs.
Oh, I love this. And I think when it comes to marketing, understanding the value or what the brand or the person really wants and really needs is important. And I also got to say that this concept of getting them on the phone and asking them questions, this is a concept that I've really been focused on. And Chris Do from the Future really talks about this a lot. I'm not sure if you're familiar. The more you ask and the more you listen, the more they feel valued and feel like you're actually customizing a solution. I think that's really important. So, okay, so let's kind of back it up. 3,000 foot overview. Okay. So we're clear on our uniqueness. We're clear on our audience, not only demographic, but psychographic. We have compiled a list of all our products, our assets, and why there's a lot of engagement there. And now we want to reach out. So we want to get on a phone call, but that can be tough. Who do we actually reach out to? So let's use the context of snowboarding, okay? And so I want to reach out. I want to get a sponsorship from Burton. I love Burton. I love their snowboards. I know that my audience loves them. What is the first step to getting that phone call with someone at Burton? Who do I reach out to?
Great question. So the first thing I do is I go straight to the top. I don't like to go to the people that are potentially more accessible right away as the first point of contact. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to try to see if I can even do this in real time with you. I'm going to do a search. The first search I'm going to do is I'm going to do CMO Burton. And am I spelling Burton correctly? Burton, right?
That's it, baby.
Yeah. Burton names new chief marketing officer. So here we go. All right. Let's see who this new chief marketing officer is. Dun, dun, dun. It is Sarah Crockett. Bam. Now I have a name, right? She's formerly the VP of integrated marketing or something else at REI. She was over at REI. And so now she's at Burton Global Marketing. All right, boom. Now I have Sarah Crockett's name. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop Sarah Crockett's name. First thing I'm going to do is go look at Sarah Crockett's Instagram and her social, see if she's active. Is she doing anything? Does she post stories? If she posts stories, I know she's super active on Instagram. So I'm looking to see if she's like got anything, and like, can I lightweight stalk her is what I call it. Like I'm just kind of like perusing, checking. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that name in LinkedIn. And then I'm going to see if I have any connections whatsoever to this mysterious Sarah Crockett, and see if I know someone that knows her directly or know someone that can get to her. So right now I'm just planning. I haven't made a pitch. I haven't called up my friend and said, oh my God, dude, you know Sarah, or you have a connection. Like I'm just laying it all up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop Sarah Crockett's first and last name into an email finder. One of my favorites is Hunter, HUNTER.io. There's another one called Voila Norbert. There's several, but you drop their name in there, and some of them are free. Some of them you need to pay a little bit of money, or you get a certain amount of credits. But they will search the internet and try to find the public email address for this person, because I don't like messing around with LinkedIn email. That's like my last resort, to send someone an email through LinkedIn. So that's kind of like how I find the name. Head of the totem pole, chief marketing officer is who I'm going for. I may or may not actually get her on the phone or get her to respond, but my goal is to get her attention. So now if I have a reason to, if I have the information or if I have a friend that can do a referral to introduce me to her, then I'm going all in. And so now I make that introduction. Hi, Sarah. My name's Mario Armstrong. I'm a ski instructor for X amount of years. I have X amount of students. And, you know, if I won a medal or an award or anything, I'm dropping any credibility that I got in those first 2 lines just to let them know, like, I'm the real deal. I'm in this industry that you're in. And I really want to have this 12-minute. And so then I say, I'd love to have a 12-minute discovery call with you to talk about some possibilities. I've been doing a ton of research. My team and I see a lot of things that we think are aligned, but we don't really know until we talk to you to help us understand your priorities. Again, shifting that value back to them for their advice. You're not pitching them. So now they got their guard up like, okay, let me hear what you got and let me see. And now I'm going to be defensive. It's more of, no. I want to have a conversation with you because I want to find out, like, a lot of my people. And if you know that you're going to go after Sarah, then before I even pitch Sarah, I'm going to hit up my people and say, how many of you buy Burton? And then they're going to tell me, and I'm like, oh shit, 84. I'm sorry. I don't know if you got to edit that. 84% of people of my audience buys Burton, or worse, only 15% are buying Burton. And we want to fix that problem. So either way, you can make it work for you. Either way, you can make it work for you. And so that's what I would be doing to kind of get her attention. And then the last thing I would say is, especially when you have a small following, is I would do the engagement formula on any post that has been really pretty good for you, like on an average post that's done very well. And if your engagement formula, and I can spit it out really quick, but if the engagement formula is at 1 to 3%, but if it's higher than 3%, 1 to 3% is the industry standard. 1 to 3% of engagement. So if you have, 100 followers, 1% of those followers is 1 to 3% of those followers is the industry standard of engagement. If you have over 3% of that, you are already doing higher than the industry standard, which means you have a highly engaged audience that you may be taking for granted. Like if you know they got like 20 comments, they've done 10 saves, they've done 5 shares, and they've done, 100 likes or 50 likes or whatever it is, you add all those numbers up, that will tell you. So if you know that your engagement is above 3%, then I would drop that in there. I'd be like, and my engagement with my audience is very, very strong. We have a 5 or a 7 or an 8% engagement rate. That's just going to blow people away. They're going to say, whether or not Sarah gets on the phone or Sarah says, hey, head of social media, need you to go have this phone call with Mario. But now it went from me, it's not me asking, right? Like the CMO told the head of social media to have the phone call.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a whole different leverage.
So, I mean, you're breaking down the entire game here, Mario. I mean, this is bananas. Like the amount of notes I'm getting from here is awesome. This is good. And I think that one of the challenges that we have as creators, as individuals, as creators, or maybe small businesses is it's hard for us to put ourselves in the shoes of a CMO of a multi-million-dollar company. So knowing to speak this language, like I have 5 to 10% in engagement on Instagram and I have 11% on LinkedIn, all of a sudden you're starting to turn heads, right? So, and we don't have, listen, guys, girls, ladies, dogs, cats, aunts, uncles, you got to check out
Cello,
Mario
come
Armstrong.
in here. Cello, come in here. I'm yelling for my dog to come in here.
Yeah, and my 2-year-old just busted in a minute ago in a Spider-Man costume. You might have missed that because we're editing it out.
Love it. Oh, man, love it.
But one of the things, so again, you got to go to Instagram, DM Mario Armstrong, send him keyword mark, so he'll know where you came from, but go ahead and DM him so he can help you get to the next level. Cause we only have so much time here on this show. But let's say that we followed this formula. Okay.
Yeah.
And up to this point, we're going to get on the phone call. We haven't sent them we haven't even talked about the money yet.
No,
right?
No. Purposefully, because you don't want to play your hand. That's why.
Right. Well, right. And that's a very easy, I was on a sales call the other day and I told someone the price. They immediately were like, yep, let's do it. And I was like, dang.
Probably could have gone up 10 grand. Right, exactly.
Yeah. And it to be fair, it was more. I feel like every client I bring on, I always ask for more money every single time. And it was more. But the fact that he snap called, I was like, I could have probably asked for more. But so anyway, backing up a little bit or moving forward a little bit, when and how do we talk about the money? When do we ask for what we want from the brand? When's the right time?
After you've had the conversation with the brand to find out what their priorities are, then you now have this information and you say to them, I'm going to get back to you with this custom draft proposal. You never call it a pitch. You never call it a presentation or a quote. You don't make it sound formal. You continue to make them feel like they're a part of the process. So this custom is a key word that we're using on purpose because it's specific to them. So you're not just going to get some boilerplate crap. It's custom, and draft is important because that indicates to them that it's not set in stone, that they have some say in what they're going to see. And so when you bring that back to them, and you can have the pricing then, because now you had the information in terms of what you're going to do. Okay, well, now we heard from you. We see this amount of posts that we're going to do. We want to make you a title sponsor of the podcast. We're also going to have you be mentioned X amount of times in the newsletter. And for the event, here's what we have planned for, because what you said was you wanted to, you're using their answers. So I'm just making some answers up. They said that they wanted to start reaching more 18 to 34 year old creatives as the audience. Okay, so what we found is, like, with our conference, we also have this session that's all about creatives, and it's really focused on like TikTok creators and all these other people and blah, blah, and it hits the sweet spot of your audience, and you're going to be the title sponsor of that particular thing. So you're taking their answers and you're thinking about what it is you want them to actually sponsor, but then you're coming up with ways that it makes sense so that you create what is called alignment. Brands don't do deals unless there is alignment. And so that's where you can then say, and here's what it's going to cost you. And so then you can drop in the price at that point. But it's still a draft, so everything is negotiable. Everything is being talked about that's on the table.
Well, and we still run into the same problem that we had before, is undervaluing the influence that we have. Like, how do I determine the price? Like, because again, I don't want to say it's 10 grand and they're like, yep. And I'm like, gosh, I could ask for 20.
Yeah.
Like, how do we identify that? Because I assume what the brand is looking for is, what's the lifetime value of every customer? How many customers am I be able to attain? It's probably very difficult for us to quantify if we don't work within the organization. Like, do you have any inside tips on how we can get that?
Yeah, and part of that is in the questioning too. Part of that is when you get on the phone call, one of the things that we talk about in the course is like the right types of questions to ask, so that you can uncover these answers ahead of time so that you understand where you are. Part of the reason why you want to do that too is because you don't even want to waste your time. Like, yeah, okay, big company, but maybe they don't have the right budget, or maybe they got their money allocated somewhere else, or maybe it's the wrong time of the year and they aren't going to do anything with you until first quarter. So how do you ask the questions to try to find out, like, what is their budget cycle like? But how do you do it in a way that feels like, it's okay to ask? It's all about like how you put these questions together. So part of that question phase in that discovery call is where you're going to find out, like, what type of budgets do you do for events or podcasts or social media or whatever it is that you may be thinking in the background. You're just trying to get a sense as to what those things may be. But a lot of times we're still in the dark. Most of the time we're still in the dark. So you have to know what it costs for you to execute your thing. Like, what are the costs? Your time, your energy, the software, the editing, whatever it is you got to do, the travel, any of these costs that get placed into it. And then you need to be able to be comfortable putting a 30 to 40% profit margin on top of that number. So if you are completely blind and in terms of not knowing, like, how should I price, look at what it costs you to produce it, every single line item. And then what I want you to do is I want you to put 30 to 40% on top of that in terms of what the pack. So if it costs you $3K to develop it, you're going to charge $9K to the brand minimum, because I need you to have 30% or 40% profit margin built in. And then what happens is a lot of people say to me, oh my God, I feel so bad. It only cost me $3K to do this thing. How am I going to justify charging them $9K, Mario? What are you talking about? That sounds bananas. They're not paying for the thing you're producing. Hear me on this. They are not paying for the thing you are producing. They are paying for access to your audience and the outcomes that they anticipate happening because of the value of your audience.
Oof. Oof. Oof.
Otherwise, you start running break-even businesses, and all you're going to do is only get the money that you need, or just a little 10% over the top, which never really gives you sustainability or growth.
Right. And I think that, you know, again, if you're brand new to brand sponsorships, I think what inevitably happens is you're going to reach out, you're going to undervalue yourself, probably maybe the first time or two, unless, of course, you link up with Mario and he gives you a little bit more insight and guidance. But what I think ends up happening is you do try fail, right? You keep doing and failing and undervaluing. And then I think that the more you do something, the more of an understanding that you get about what your intrinsic value is, or what the value that you bring these brands is. It's tremendous, tremendous. And again, you can go to Instagram, DM Mario Armstrong. It's pretty simple here. Mario Armstrong, just like it sounds, keyword mark. And then listen, if you want to go further, because honestly, we only touched the tip of the iceberg here today. We're gonna have to do this again soon. Man. NeverSettleAcademy.com. Is that the course right there?
Yeah, go check it out. Like, really just look at it and see if it makes sense for you. But that is it. NeverSettleAcademy.com. Because the other thing I don't want you to do is like take the information. Look, even if you're thinking about, yo, dude, I don't want to pay for your class, but I'm about to send this pitch. I'd much rather hear you be straight up and real with me and tell me that, so I can at least give you guidance before you send the pitch, because what I've given you is probably 15 to 20% of what you actually need in order to get the thing to happen, honestly. And if you can imagine, like, if that's 20%, like, what's the other 80, right?
Yeah. And again, every time I hear you can find Mario on Clubhouse, on YouTube. I'm gonna have a bunch of links here in the show notes, because it's always very tremendous and very, it's tangible, right? It's tangible.
Good, so, man. I try, man, because, you know, I just want people to get more opportunity. And, you know, because this shift is real, and, you know, pay attention to what the brands are doing, right? Like, look at the platforms. TikTok is spending money. Facebook has just said they're going to spend $1 billion on creators. You know, Clubhouse had their creators thing that they're doing. Like, everybody, Instagram is paying people to go, if you have badges, look at your Instagram account. If you have badges, activate badges and then get some free money from Instagram, because they're paying you to go live, and they're giving you $100 for the first milestone, $150 for the second one, $250 for the third one. And the $250 can be monthly if you go live every single week for at least 15 minutes. So, like, these platforms recognize, holy crap, we've been rewarding all these people with 6-figure followings and, like, making them special. And the people that are the real winners are the ones that we've been neglecting. And those are the ones, and we knew that we always had value. Like, every last listener to your podcast has tremendous value. They got something hot that they're doing. They got some skill. They got some talent. They're not listening to this because they aren't, like, ambitious or trying to make it happen, or aren't already making it happen. You got great listeners. So, you know, let's not let the marketplace say to us anymore, you got to have 10,000 followers, or you got to have at least 20 episodes, or you got to be podcasting for a year. None of that's true anymore. What you need to do is understand who you speak to, who are they, why are they valuable, and how engaging can you be? Like, work on your engagement with your people. Oh, I did promise that I'd give the formula, so I don't want to leave people hanging on that, if we should do that.
Yeah, Mario, you got to tell us, what is the engagement formula? Give it to me. What's that engagement formula?
All right, real quick, grab a pen and paper, boys and girls, because you're going to need to write this one down. All right, so it's a mathematical formula that basically takes the amount of interactions. So you're going to calculate you take a post, take one of your best posts, and you're going to calculate the likes. I'm talking Instagram right now, but it could be for anything. Likes, saves, shares, comments. So those are 4 different things that we are looking for. Each one of those are separate interactions. Add them all up. Okay, Mario, the number is 100. Okay, now I divide that number by the number of followers that I have. So I got 1,000 followers. Okay, so 100 divided by 1,000, and then you're going to multiply that. You're going to multiply that by 10. And so that's going to give you a percentage. So if we were to just, you know, do you know the amount of likes that you might get on a given post that you do? Roughly the amount of likes that you might get.
Let's call it 50.
All right, and then we'll say that you probably get, I don't know, 20 or so comments. I'm just gonna build this out really quick. 50, 20 or so comments. Let's say about how many followers do you have?
We're up to, God, I don't even really count it. I'm up to, let's say 2,500. I think we're close to 2,500 now.
2,500. All right. So we're going to do 50 likes. We're going to do, say, 20. I'm sorry. Let me do this again. 50 likes plus 20 comments. We're going to say like maybe 5 people shared it. And then we're going to say like maybe 3 people saved it. So that gives me 60. And you said you have about what? 2,000?
Yeah, let's call it 2,500.
Okay. I'm just going to do it off of 2,000. Then I multiply that by 10. Yeah. You're at 3%.
Okay. So that would put us in the top of the average, I guess, right?
Absolutely. You are the top of the average right now. And I'm just ballparking this, right? But now you can see like, holy crap, if I just get a few more comments, if I just get a few more likes or a few more people to save. So be intentional with that post. Like start asking questions, start having conversations. Don't just post and leave it there for people to just like be involved or hope they comment. Like tell them, like, you know, share this with somebody or save this or tag someone, like get them to do something. And that can help with that number. But you're right there at 3% already. So you're at the top of the industry average. So if you go above that, you're going to even be in more powerful shape. So that's the mathematical formula. So do that, see where you all land, and see if you're already within the industry average of that 1 to 3%, or if you're lucky enough to even be already above that industry average.
Dig that. I mean, this is absolute gold. And Mario, I just want to thank you for pouring into all the after hours entrepreneurs today. And I think really helping us to speak the language of the brand. What are the words? What are the formulas? How do we've gone through that whole setup. We haven't even gotten into what we do after we land the brand deal, which, you know, we'll have to save for another day. But before I let you go here, Mario, I got a couple overrated, underrated questions for you.
I love it.
We got to do the overrated, underrated. It's just bananas. It's so good. So, okay, let's get it started.
Okay.
Overrated, underrated Zoom meetings.
Oh, I'm going to go with underrated.
I'm with you there. Overrated, underrated YouTube.
Overrated.
Okay. Overrated, underrated LinkedIn DMs.
Underrated.
Okay.
Phenomenally underrated.
And that could be an entire episode on how to properly DM people on LinkedIn, because
oh my God, man. Not only there, but also in Instagram, there are ways to do it. Like, you know, teaching you how to like shoot a quick little video reel about yourself. Like I do video sales letters now and video pitches. I don't just do my pitch in print. And so I teach you in the course, like the impactfulness of like a video pitch. Plus the software I use, I can track, I can see who opened it, how long they watched it. Like it's crazy. It just gives you a lot of intel to really make your pitches smarter.
What's the software you use?
I use DUBB.com. You could also use Loom. It's a little bit cheaper if you use Loom, and Loom even has some free stuff.
Cool. I'll check those out. And if you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
Stop looking for validation from others. Keep going. You got this.
Mario said it, and I agree with it. Mario, thanks for joining the After Hours Entrepreneur.
Yo, this has been so powerful. I'm so pissed it's over.
Well, you know, the conversation continues in Clubhouse. So you got to find us on Clubhouse. We are there. And again, one of the things I love about Clubhouse is that direct question. Come on stage, ask Mario a question, and he will definitely bring the heat every time. Every time.
Mark, man, it's been an honor, man, and a privilege to be on here. You are a champion for your audience. I love how you really understand them, and you are bringing advice and information and people that really want to see your audience really grow. And that's what a great curator, a great host. You allowed me to do a lot of talking, so I appreciate that. And get a lot of information out there. And that just really also shows that it's not about you. It's about your audience and you trying to really get them access to the best information. So kudos to you, man. And thanks for having me on such an awesome podcast. I appreciate it.
The door is always open. We'll do it again very soon, I'm sure.
Okay, man. Look forward to that.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.